Okay, we're live.
Hi everyone, it's Earl Tara with the Midweek Zap, and today we have Carmen Rojas is going to be talking with us about metrics and analytics. And we have two people from the audience who've joined in the panel. We have Grizwald Grim and Kevin Burns. So we've got a full deal here today. Carmen, welcome, and thank you for hopping on over so quickly from your special show. You want to tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Hello, everybody. My name is Carmen. I am a digital media innovator. I had started as just kind of a marketing person. I've been in, marketing now for, I'm not going to date myself, but it's been more than a decade. Let's just go with that. Got to be a lady. I got started in more the sports and athletic administration, and that area of marketing, and have just kind of gotten into the consumer area. I've worked with some of the world's most recognized brands, and recently, as in about the last about 5 years old now, have a consulting group called Rojas Consulting, where we work with entrepreneurs and businesses and companies of all size to develop their digital marketing presence. So that's my elevator pitch on who I am and what I'm about. I am a Navy wife. I live up here in the great state of Maine right now. We're about an hour north of Boston. So that's where we are. I'm just back from vacation, so I just took my sunglasses off, and I'm here with Zara, so it's a great day.
You had a great number of great IRLs on vacation. I saw,
I did.
Yeah.
I got to meet Christopher Vogelman. That was fantastic, and also got to meet up with Christine Bowen. That was also just awesome. So, hey, fun, sun, and some hurls. Hey, can't go wrong.
That's really great. So let's start off today with some tips from you about how a business on a limited budget, often just, partnerships, solopreneurs, if you will, how can they afford to pay for a marketing professional?
It's a great question, and I was just talking about this on the show. Oftentimes what you will find is that it seems like there's two polar extremes for marketing. You've got, and I'm not knocking Fiverr by what I'm about to say, but you kind of have that Fiverr realm where things are $5 and you're paying, or you've got, your cousin's nephew's uncle's friend that could run your social media for you or something like that. And then you have at the other end, you have very large companies with full-blown staffs that are going to charge you thousands of dollars a month. And sometimes it's hard to find that middle ground that's going to work well for you as a solopreneur or an entrepreneur. And one of the things that I would definitely suggest to people is just first of all, get to the point that you understand that there will come a day when your marketing should not be free. Should not, will not, cannot be free. There is, that point is going to come. Where that point comes is different for different people and different for the business. Sometimes that's very early. Sometimes that doesn't happen for a little while. But get that in your mind that that day is probably going to come. There's a lot of things out there, social media has been a fantastic tool. Google has some awesome things that are free, but nothing is totally free. Even if you don't pay out of your pocket, it's going to cost you time. And as an entrepreneur, your time is valuable. So even if you don't pay out of your pocket, that hour that you spent trying to set up your Hootsuite account, couldn't you have spent that hour going out to get a different client or doing something else that actually does put money into your pocket? So you do have to consider the risk benefit on that kind of a scope. And one of the tips that I gave to our audience over there that I'll share with you guys is, if you find, say you've gone out and you say, I need somebody to help me with my social media, and you can't afford that individual. Maybe they're charging, a couple $100 above your head. One tool or tip I would give, go out and get another business person that also needs a social media, and then bring that marketing person, both of you, and say, look, we can't afford to do this singularly. $500 for each of us is a little bit much, but could you handle us both for $750 and we'll let you put our logo on the website? You know what I mean? There's marketing people, we love a good deal. We love a good deal just like anybody else. And we're very, very creative at marketing ourselves. So if you give us an opportunity to do that, then you'll often find that there are some nice price breaks and things like that that people will take advantage of.
There's really great tips, really great tips. And I know on the Midweek Zap, it's come up a number of times about thinking about outsourcing and putting that as part of your budget right from the get-go. Even if you can't afford it right now, think about, when I reach that next step that Carmen was just talking about, when I reach that next step, what is the dollar amount that I am willing to spend to do that outsourcing? Because yes, otherwise you're going to be spending 28 hours of a 24-hour day doing everything yourself. It just, you cannot do everything yourself.
Yeah, you just can't. And and I'll share just even an example of something I did when I was early. When I first left corporate marketing and came into doing the consulting group, I thought, let me just do some of this on my own for somebody. I'll pick up a couple of clients, I'll make it dirt cheap, I'll just put money in my pocket, it starts the wheel rolling, and I'll do it myself. And it was one of the first times that I built a site in WordPress. And I have owned sites there, but I had never built one before. But I thought, I can do this, and I can figure it out, and I can pay myself, and I can do it. I spent so much time doing it, and I'm kind of detail oriented, and so it took. I remember one Saturday I spent, God, it had to have been about 6 or 7 hours at a Starbucks just trying to get the stupid slider to slide the way I wanted it to. I mean, it was just like, seriously? It just drove me crazy. And it wasn't so much, again, we talked about the cost of your time, but that was a Saturday. That was away from my kids. That was, I could have been doing other things. And as an entrepreneur, again, you have to have a very tight, hold on your time. And, could I have paid somebody, a couple $100 to get my Saturday back? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe, but you never get the Saturday back.
Exactly.
You never get the Saturday back. I have a term for that kind of work. I call it rhino work. It's the hours and hours you spend to get the slider to work that your clients and prospects never see, because it is a time sucker. So, every time you find yourself in one of those things, it's like the rhino's down, and,
Absolutely.
it's just, and you're really not focusing on your business.
You're not.
And it is about weighing your time. I know we wanted to spend most of our time today talking about analytics, because I think for a lot of people, it's one of those things. It's just like you were with Stephanie, and Stephanie was here a couple of weeks ago. Whenever you talk about numbers, whether it's from a financial aspect or from metric measuring aspect, people, they put the blinders on and they go, I don't know how to do this. It can be a lot easier and a lot more simple than people can think if they're, used to hearing, data geeks talk about things like that. So what do you think one of the first things that someone can do to look at how they go about measuring and getting feedback on their marketing? What are some steps people can do?
That's a really good point. If you're kind of a number phobic person, I guess I'd have to ask Manny what that technical phobia is. But if you're not a big fan of numbers and Google Analytics and whatnot scare you, what I would do is start paying attention yourself. Start writing things down. Start, write down, today I tweeted, write down how many times a day did you tweet, and on this date, and then what was the result. Pencil and paper, fine, do that. But if you start giving yourself a trail and a record of what you did, then you can start saying, gosh, you know what, I tweeted 4 times today, and I didn't get nobody else looked at my, I didn't get anything. Nothing happened out of that. Nobody retweeted me. Nobody favorited anything I did. Nobody, you can see all of that. So, and I know I once saw a show that it was Subi Zimmerman. I have to see if I can find that link, was talking about something that she did in her brick and mortar store using Instagram, and when they posted a photo, how many people came in that day, and she actually taught her staff how to write this stuff down. So even if you're not using a tool like an Optimizely, or there's so many of them now out there, to do your analytics, pay attention and just start writing it down using pencil and paper. That's a fantastic way to at least start measuring.
That's a great way to get comfortable with the concept, because when you tell people, just get a piece of, keep a notebook and write down what you do, all of a sudden it's gone to real and simple and something I can do to this big mythological data analytics. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And it becomes replicable. That's the important thing. You now have a track that you can go back to, and then something's going to work. I mean, you hopefully hope that eventually something will work. And so you want to know, how did I get it to work? What did I do? So you have a product launch that went fantastically well. It went viral on social media. Wouldn't it be great if you had a nice little breadcrumb trail behind you so that you could do it again the next time you have a launch? And that's what having even just a paper and pencil way of measuring allows you to do. It allows you to replicate it. And then you can, once you replicate it and you have a trail of it, you could trademark it. You could sell that. You could own that. That can be your system, and it adds value to your company or your business. But you have to have it first. It has to be written and spelled out, and in a way that you can hold on to. And then that way, again, it becomes an asset of the business. How your sales process can be an asset of your business.
That's a really great point. I've never heard anyone say that before. But how, even what you're doing as you're measuring what you're doing can be your system that you can then market. I think that's a terrific point. That's just a terrific point. So, there's lots of things that, people who are just starting out and solopreneurs without a big budget that you can do to measure yourself and create your own process. Mm-hmm. And then I know Kevin's burning to ask a question. So
bring it on, Kevin.
I don't have any questions. Now I'm gonna go light on you, Carmen, for starters, and I've got a barrel full of questions, and maybe not enough time to even get to all of them.
Go for it.
Depending on the audience and also Grizz. The first one is metrics. I know you're interested in metrics, and does this mean that you relate to or use the metric system of measurements?
You know what's honestly funny though? I learned the metric system because I was an athlete in college. I ran track, and I was a heptathlete. And the scoring table for the heptathlon is all done metrically. So you had to learn, how far, if you knew where you were and point totals and whatnot, and you were getting ready to long jump, a 6-meter jump is worth a certain amount of points. And if you had to always convert between feet and inches, it just wasted time. So I learned the metric system, how to do kilos and all of that from
Meters.
That experience. Yep.
Milliliters.
Yep.
But in terms of your business, that's the funny part. But there is a real part to metrics, and I know what it means, but I'm curious to see what metrics is to you and sort of how you collect your metrics.
What we do, and I think I wrote a longer post about this in one of Zara's things. I'm a very, very fond person of the lean startup method. If I'm heading in the right direction here. But what we do is we take small steps and we measure, and then that way we use metrics to measure. We'll look at, and it depends on what our outcome is supposed to be. Sometimes it's page views, sometimes it's links on the site. For example, if we're talking about website stuff, sometimes it's click-throughs. Sometimes we're trying to get our bounce rate to come down. There's all kinds of different outcomes that you can get, and so the metric that you're going to use to measure those varies and depends. But then we test, we use a lot of split testing, and then we figure out what the next step is going to be based on those outcomes and the metrics that we use to get it. So I love it. Manny would probably tell you I might depend on it a little too much. But I think it's a great way to, in business and especially as an entrepreneur, you're not going to get a lot of black and white decisions. You're not going to get a lot of choice opportunities where something is clearly one or another. And so the more opportunities that you can give yourself for that, the better off I believe you'll be at the end of the day. And so metrics and analytics allows you to do that.
And what you did is you went right into my second question that was going to be funny, and I think maybe that we may still have some leeway here. And that is, you said you're a fan of the lean startup method approach to build, measure, and learn about marketing, and more importantly, customers, in other words, to learn about your customers. Does this mean that you have to lean over to start up the build, measure, and learn process?
I think no, technically let me see how I can spin that. Lean over. If you are getting into, you need to have a conversation and you need to listen. So, if you're sitting back from your customers and, you're saying, okay, well, you didn't like what I had to offer, so screw you guys. I just need to find some new customers. And rather than listen in, lean in and listen, and that way you can actually hear what they're saying to you, why they're saying it, and understand and really take it in. So yes, I guess I would say lean in terms of really getting into what's going on with your customers.
And of course, I was kidding in the first part, and then that's the real part, which we also covered. So thank you for that. That was great.
Carmen, I have a question. I like to keep things clear because in our audience we have people who are new to business, new to being online, etc. So could you just really quickly go back to explaining what a split test is?
Okay. A split test is something that we use, and I'm trying to explain it in simply and quickly. It basically allows you to run an experiment, just like in when you were in grade school and you put a little pot of beans one was by a window and one was not by a window, and then you watched them both to see which one grew more. It's the same kind of a thing. That's a bean pot split test. Basically what we do with websites, for example, is we would have one version of what you see. It might be just the home page. It might be some, your checkout system. It might be something, some other part of it that looks one way or functions one way, and then another one that functions another way. So you have a control and a treatment. You can actually have probably 2, maybe 3 or 4 different treatments depending on how much traffic you have and all of that. And then you literally run them. Google Analytics has just rolled out a new way that it splits your traffic. So say you got 10 people that come to your site a day, 5 of them would see the control and 5 of them would see your treatment. And then at the end of your test period, you're able to compare what did they do. So the people that saw my page, for example, with the with the video on it that we did, they did this. The people that saw the page that didn't have the video, they did this. And which one had a closer result to my desired outcome. And that's, in a nutshell, what split testing is. You can also do it with email campaigns. If you have a question about, will people respond to, a different kind of a message, send half your email list one, send the other half the other one, and compare same way. So split testing is just basically the idea of splitting your audience into 2, and then splitting them into multiple, different ones, and then giving them each different ones and seeing which ones come back with your desired outcome.
Oh, that was a fantastic explanation. Thank you very, very much. Mm-hmm. And Grizz, you originally, I know you had questions for Carmen. So
I do.
All right. What do you have?
All right, Carmen, I've familiarized myself enough to know that I want to have someone else do this for me. So what I would ask of you is, what 3 questions should I ask potential people I'm going to have do this for me?
Good question. I would ask them, what platform are they using? There's a lot of different ones. Some of them are free, some of them are not. But it does make a difference. I'm not necessarily advocating for any one or the other, but you just need to know which one that they're the most comfortable in, and that'll make a difference. And I said I wasn't going to advocate, but I will just say Google Analytics tends to be they've actually done a lot of work to make it better than it was. It was a little bit hairy and kind of difficult to get a hold of, but they actually have gone in there and done some really nice things to streamline it and make it a little bit more palatable. But the nice thing is that it's free. So if you were to ever leave that person for any reason or another, then you can still keep all of your data and stuff like that. If you're going to like an Omniture or something like that where they're paying for it, they might that person might tell you, hey, I paid for all of that, so I own it. And it may be an issue. So again, that would probably be my second point. Would be at the end of the day, who owns all of the data? It's your website, it's your information, but they should be giving you kind of an updated report, something like that. But if you wanted to get even in more detail, say you hire this person for 6 months, after that 6 months, what happens to all of that data that they collected? Do you own it or do they? Would be another good question. The third thing I would probably say, will they give you access to see it as they see it? Will you have the same level of access to see everything as they do? You may not understand it, but you want to be able to see it. I've had a client or two that came to me after, I don't know who they were working with, some big, and it's like an AT&T or something like that told them that they got, you got 10,000 hits on your website. And it was like, well, what the heck does that mean? How do you define hits? What is that? And it became a sales tool for that company because they couldn't see what the truth was behind this, behind the smoke and mirrors, so to speak, of just saying you got 10,000 hits to your website. So having the same level of access as they do, even like I said, not because you want to understand it, but because you want to be able to fact check it.
Thank you very much. Good point.
I just wanted to bring up Kristen, because she's following up on what we've been saying. That was such a great question, Grizz, because I think people don't know where to go to think about what they want from someone to perform those actions for them. That was a terrific question. Anyway, Kristen says, now that I'm not afraid of the numbers, I need to learn how to apply my renewed courage to building an empire. Pay for the kids' college funds later. Thank you so much for sharing your practical knowledge, Carmen. So thank you. You really are answering questions for people, and thank you, audience, for jumping right in and asking more. Chris, do you have another question?
No, that's the only one I had. Sorry.
Okay, well then I have something here from William Rock. A/B split test can also help you figure out what the quality score for the page, ad, and keyword. If you're getting good quality score in your testing, people are converting. Then apply that to your organic search plan. Be the most relevant, and you will also get to play with the #1 spot on Google AdWords and pay less than the others not testing. Okay, that's a great money. That's a great money add-on. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, A/B split testing is an awesome thing to do. If you're not familiar with it, please message me. I'd be more than happy to show you how to set it up in Google Analytics. I won't charge you for it or anything like that. It is a very good thing to get familiar with.
Okay. Oh my goodness, you have an admirer from Luke Chalois. He says, Carmen Rojas isn't only interesting to listen to, she's also totally hot. There you go, Carmen.
Thank you, Luke.
Okay, and Kevin, I think you have a couple more questions. Is that right?
I do. Do you use personality typing to help you figure out your target audience, to know your customers, to know how to ask you questions, to actively listen to their answers, their concerns, and to actively listen to know for a fact what your audience is not doing?
Did Manny put you up to that? I'm just kidding.
No,
Okay.
that's actually how I think.
No, I don't know if you've met Manny St. Victor, Dr. Manny St. Victor, but he and I are doing a lot of work with that. That is a new. I've been familiar with the Myers-Briggs and the Carl Jung theory for a very long time, as applied to other areas, but I would say as recently within this calendar year, really started thinking about how it could apply to marketing. And particularly also with digital marketing and how that works, and understanding how my own personality type was coming through in my marketing, and how that might be rubbing people the wrong way, or there are certain personality types that they don't make necessarily good co-workers, but they don't make necessarily good marketing and customer situations either. If I'm telling you things, and I tend to be very analytical, which is why I like metrics and analytics. But if you're a feeling person, and all I tell you about this car is how many miles per gallon it gets, and how it goes from 0 to 60 in 1.2 seconds, I'm totally going to turn off anybody that wants to hear about how the car drives. How does it feel? What does the sound system sound like? All of that kind of stuff. So being aware of that is something that I'm learning. I wouldn't say that I'm an expert at it, but Manny and others are out there doing a lot of great work at it, and I'm working with those guys to get better at it.
And that
I'll be
was
interested
great.
to track your work over time then in that regard, because I didn't know you were doing that. I asked the question sort of just wondering, because you're just one data point, for the consultants that do this sort of marketing work that you do, the digital marketing work. But I'm very glad to hear that you are well in touch with this whole MBTI practice in order to leverage that in your bottom line. That's that's where it's going to go. Is it's going to hit your bottom line. The better that you get at it.
Absolutely, and I think that digital marketing gives you, again, more opportunities to do that, because now it's much easier to take my message. They talk about the heart tones of your MBTI profile, so it's just 4 of them instead of the whole set. And you can make messages that are targeted to those and watch how people convert. You can actually test that theory out on your own. You use the code tag in your experiment, and you can say, hey, I'm going to put out a feeling message, and I'm going to see what happens. And you can
so that could be used in your split testing too, right?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm.
Great. This is great. Like I said, I'm going to be interested to follow your progress over time as you do this.
Oh,
that'll be fun.
Now I have to be accountable. Okay.
No, I'm just going to be observing.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll let you watch if you make sure that you call me out on it when I screw it up. So.
Okay. Privately.
No, you can make it public.
Me and me both.
But yeah.
and Grizz.
Grizz as well. It's true. I have another comment from William Rock about metrics. When you post something hot or an email blast, I like to use annotations within Google Analytics. And then he has also posted a link for everybody on how to use Google Analytics annotations for real-world correlations. So I thank you so much for sharing that with everyone. That's a very great point. Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. Grizz, you've been monitoring. Have you seen anything in there as well?
Well, speaking of public accountability, now that went out and is being recorded, Kristen remarked on the generosity of the offer.
No problem, Kristen. I would love to do it. So, just send me a message and we'll figure out a time to get you going in there. I think, a lot of people kind of tend to get tripped up with just setting it up, and getting Google Analytics installed properly. Particularly if you have a WordPress site, it's much, much easier now than it used to be. There's some nice plugins that take care of the whole thing for you. So
And
we'll take care of it.
Thank you. I just want to, with Kristen, because this also gets, the audio gets stripped for podcast, so I want to read Kristen's comment. And that is, wow, Carmen Rojas, that's an incredible offer. So generous. And it is generous. Carmen, just super. All right, we're all applauding. Kevin, do you have one last question?
Okay, I'm going to skip to the number 10 question in the chat stream. I think that you can see it, Carmen. And
Yes.
it is your interpretation of the laws of attraction. I know you're interested in this because I do a little bit of homework on the folks. Is the laws of attraction related to James Clerk Maxwell's theory of electromagnetism, i.e. the physics of the electromagnetic field, or the human laws of attraction where likes attract?
Wow, boy, I gotta think twice before I hop on here with you again. But
that's got a funny built into it, by the way. Plus, it's a real question.
Yeah.
The first part I know about, and I think the second part you know about.
Right. Yeah. I'm going to say I'm not as familiar with James Clerk Maxwell's theory of electromagnetism. I'm just in kind of reading your personality. I'm guessing that would actually be the physical magnets and things, and how maybe things in the atmosphere are kind of held by gravity into place. I don't know.
Radio waves, TV signals, radio waves, any kind of your cell phone, all of that.
Mm-hmm. And how
Maxwell's equations.
Right, and human laws of attraction. I think all of this has an interesting relationship because I also add in, kind of, the religion and the faith side of it. And I definitely think that, that you do put out an energy, whether it comes out, in terms of, and anybody can feel it. If you ever walk into a room and then people are ticked off, you know what I mean? They don't have to say a word, but that room feels charged. You know what I mean? And if you walk into a Christmas party and everyone's having a great time, that room feels light. There is an energy and you feel it. And so your own personal energy does come out in a tangible way that other human beings can experience. And whether that's electromagnetism or what it is, that's 100% true and real. And I think having your own center, be it faith, be it, whatever you want to call it, is an important part of that.
So in terms of your personal life and your professional life, does that mean, because the way that I took it, that you're interested in the human laws of attraction is likes attract as opposed to opposites attract. I assume you're on the likes attract portion of the spectrum, I'm guessing, which means that you would try to draw people to you to work with, like you do with people on HOAs and so forth, that somehow you're attracted to, right?
Yes, I would say that I am, but it's not. There's different ways that I'm attracted to people. I know that I this I don't want to get into something that would be too heavy for this show, but I think I'm a woman, but there are some women out there that work really well with women, and then there are some women who don't. They work much better with men, and they would have a whole staff of men and be perfectly happy. Or some people that just feel more comfortable with people of their own ethnic background, or whatever. So I think I've found different things in people that I like. I like professional people. I like people who think in a more linear fashion. I have a harder time with the really flowery artistic. I can't understand it. So it's just really hard for me to have a conversation that way. I'm actually my husband is of a different ethnicity than I am. So if you're thinking like in my personal life at that level, no, we're not. But in terms of our experiences, he was raised in New Orleans. So then on that level, we are rather quite similar. So there are different ways that like attracts like.
It's probably a mix of both.
Yeah,
Carmen, that was great. That's excellent.
I'd like to bring. We're running into the end of our time here, and so I have one more question. But following up on what Kevin started about, different types of people and who resonates with you within your business, but also who resonates with you as customers, and who is attracted to you, and are there ways that we as small business people can implement some kind of way of measuring who is really responding and engaging with what we have, and who is, buying into whatever we have to offer, whether it's a product or service or whatever. Are there ways to measure that?
Absolutely, yes. So if I'm out of time, the quick answer is yes, there are ways to measure that.
Take a couple of more minutes.
If I've got just a few more seconds, you can, if you make a note of who those people are, I see business owners spend way too much energy chasing people they can't stand, because they're chasing the dollar rather than chasing the relationship, and they're chasing people that they have no interest in having anything to do with other than just pay my invoice. And that takes energy, and if you build your business around people like that, when you do get the customer that you enjoy, you're drained and you can't give them the energy that you would want to give them, and so they don't become the evangelist that you would want them to be. So I would say, quickly, I understand how it is, particularly starting up. You got to pay bills. You need people that are just going to pay your freaking invoice so that you can pay bills. But you got to make sure that you're attracting people that you actually are interested in working with and working for. If they drive you bananas and you dread the day that you have to get up and answer that email or check that text message, that's just not the kind of customer that you want to keep. So you deal with them and you move on. And you just move on. In terms of how do you track those people, you will know who they are. You will know who you resonate with, and so you watch them on Twitter, you watch them in their social media. Are they talking about you? Are they evangelizing for you? Are they retweeting your tweets? Are they, and do those tweets end up becoming followers of yours? Are they, what's their, you can use circle count and all these other wonderful instruments out there to see what those people are actually doing for you.
Thank you very much, because I think the human element is a major part of how we proceed on in business. That the measurement and the analytics are tools for us to hone in on where we want to go and how we want to proceed further, and they're teaching tools for us, and on what to do with our business. But from a business perspective, we can't lose sight of the people. We just, the
Absolutely.
people they're our greatest metric, as it were, because in the long run, if you have, 10 evangelists, you're building your business, and those are the people that you want, and the metrics are helping you find those 10 evangelists in the most efficient and expeditious way possible. So it all goes together. I think that a lot of people think about numbers or analytics or any of those things as something that's over here in this little compartment, and it's something that they do even secretly, or they chat with other people about their business. But that it's all part of the big picture of how you expand your business, and they are tools that help you do that and hone in. And that's the end goal. The end goal isn't measuring. The end goal is building
understanding.
Yeah. So Carmen, I want to thank you so much for being here, and especially you've been just marathoning this morning and this afternoon with your energy, because you were on air before you joined us. So I want to doubly thank you for being here. I want to thank Grizz for his great question. It's totally spot on and helping with comment tracker. And Kevin, you just come up with the best questions. I don't even know what else to say.
There's more, but we'll save those for another show. Okay, Carmen?
Absolutely. We'll do it.
Thank you
The
so
pumps are
much.
primed.
So this is
All
the
right.
Midweek Zap, and I want to thank everybody for being here and all your great questions and comments. More than we could even bring up today. And next week we have Alex Enrique Gonzalez is going to be with us, and we're going to be talking about communicating, how, when, and who. Okay, so thank you, everyone. Let's say goodbye to everyone. Thanks
Bye,
again,
everybody.
Carmen. Thanks a lot.
Have a good one.